Welcome back, my beautiful net gang. One of these books is by far the worst books I've ever read. Anyway, let's talk about this baby. This baby. Sundays at Tiffany's. I really wanted to read this one. First of all, I love James Patterson. He's one of my favorite thriller writers. I think he's brilliant. He has a lot of books, and I've a couple of them in my bookshelf, and I thoroughly enjoy his work. Um, I loved reading this one because it was an easy read, very very easy. It was something that after the crazy that is corporate, it's good to just get a break and read something that doesn't require a lot of thinking. I love my mysteries, I love my psychological thrillers, but it was good to just unwind and read something soft. Now, Sundays at Tiffany's is about our girl Jane. Her mom is like this big shot director. She's beautiful. She's got a lot of plastic surgery, but she's beautiful. And this girl, she's a chubby. It starts when she's, I think, 8 or 9, and it starts with her. She's at Tiffany's and she's with her favorite person in the entire world, Michael. I feel like some of you guys know how much I love the name Michael. And even in one of my favorite little fantasy things, I wrote a character named Michael, and he's one of the my most favorite characters that I ever wrote or imagined. So reading about a Michael was like, Michael. I love Michaels. I do love Michael. So Michael, though, is her imaginary friend. And I was like, okay, this is cutesy. But Michael is her 30-something-year-old male imaginary friend. I just thought that was a bit weird. I mean, you guys can tell me if I'm just being weird. But whenever I imagine children having imaginary friends, I always imagine that they have child imaginary friends, or not even child imaginary friends, but like friends that are, like, oh, he's a fairy, oh, he's a spy, he's this. But Michael is just a basic human being. So there's nothing about Michael that gives imaginary friend. So, but Michael has basically gotten her through everything, like her life, her her mom's multiple relationships, multiple divorces, the fact that she feels very insecure as a child who happens to be a little bit chubby with a mom that looks the way that her mom looks, and that looks the way her mom looks and is as amazing as the way her mom is amazing. So having that voice, that person who tells you you're beautiful, the person who reminds you you're cute, is everything to her. And then it opens up to it's her birthday, her 9th birthday, and everybody's there. But you quickly realize it's not her birthday party, it's her mom's party. Like, it's all about her mom. Although it's her birthday, they're going to take 2 minutes to sing to her, cut a cake, but it's really an adult party, and which I found weird. Like, if it's a kid's party, can it please be a kid's party? Like, don't do that. Don't do that. But Michael's there for her. It's cutesy. Her dad and her dad's new girlfriend are there, and she's happy. And then at the end of the party, that's when Michael tells her, remember, Jane, what I said to you? When you turn 9, I have to go. I do not stay with children after 9, so I have to leave. But he tells her, it's going to be okay, Jane, because you are never you're not gonna remember me anyway. You're gonna remember that you once had an imaginary friend, but you're not gonna remember the time that we spent together. It's gonna be okay. You're gonna forget about me. Which I was like, oh, no. And it made me wonder, like, did I once have an imaginary friend that I don't remember? Probably. But all my imaginary friends, I remember. I had a lot, guys. I have a very vivid imagination, so you guys can imagine what is here. like the worlds that are in my head. Those of you that have read some of my poetry or some of my works, you know that this year I have a lot of imaginary friends. Um, and the next morning, Jane wakes up and Michael is gone. But guess what? Jane remembers everything. She remembers Michael, and it is absolutely painful. And then we jump like a few years later, and we see adult Jane. She's also in movies, you know. She's doing theater. She's writing and producing. She works with her mom. She is beautiful, skinny, but she feels like she's not skinny enough. She's dating a supermodel, you know, and she just finished working on um this like a very popular show that she created, or TV movie thing, on Broadway, and they're about to move it to film. And it's basically the story about Michael. So she she turned that into like a Broadway show, and she's about to make it into TV, and we are like so proud of you, Jane. I'm rooting for you, Jane. And the guy, her supermodel boyfriend, actually is the guy that plays Michael. So I'm like, Jane, girl, I see you. But that guy is horrible. Hugh. His name is Hugh. He's horrible. He's pretty, but not a good character. Like there's one scene where he invites her. He stands her out. He stands her up. He stands her up. They were supposed to have dinner. He doesn't show up. There's one scene where she's gotten budgeting and funding to turn her Broadway show into a movie, and he really wants to play Michael because he's already played Michael, but she feels like he's not good for that role. Like the only part that is good is just he's really good looking, so the girls love that. But other than that, he is not a good Michael in Jane's opinion. So she's like, no, I'm not gonna cast you. And then she's like, oh, I'm inviting you to come have come out with us, you know, dress up, be pretty. She gets there and she gets ambushed by his manager, and he's something else. And they're like, Jane, why don't you want Hugh to play your Michael? And your mom already agrees. Da 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 da. Vivian, her mom already agrees. And if Vivian says Michael is great, then Michael is great. No. And then there's another scene where they are driving. He literally kicks her out of the car and he leaves her there. Like, anyway, moving over to Michael. So Michael, we jump over to him as well. He's still 30. He hasn't aged. He hasn't grown up or anything like that. And he's back in New York where Jane is. He just finished an assignment with a kid. He's waiting for another assignment, and we see him just live his life. So basically he can choose when to be seen and when not to be seen. So when he's right now mingling with adults and everything, he can be seen, but when he's on an assignment, he can like choose not to be seen. Michael doesn't know how he became like an imaginary friend. He doesn't know the power that be, but he's got like some cool powers. Like if he wants money, he can just do this. If he wants a cab, he can just do this, and he just gets whatever he wants. So Michael has a great life essentially, but he feels a bit empty. And in feeling a bit empty, he's walking one time and he sees someone that he recognizes, and he looks over and it's our girl Jane, and he's immediately smitten with her. He finds her so attractive, so beautiful, and he kind of starts stalking her. I don't know, guys, but what is with us? Why do we always, whenever we talk about romance, or, you know, why do we always put stalking in there? Because quote unquote, it is stalking. He's following her around, following her to see where she stays, where her building is, find out everything about her. And I'm like, this is weird. This is weird, guys. Why do we like this? Why do we like this? Anyway, but we see him, he goes to a party with like his adult friends, and in that party he meets a girl, and the girl is really coming on hard onto him, and she's very pretty, but the entire time he's just talking about Jane. He's just talking about Jane, like how amazing she is, how strong she is, how and how he finds her like. And the girl even says, okay, we can hang out, but clearly you are in love with Jane and you should go back to your Jane. And then we go back to Jane, watching her life, she's very insecure. She's very, very, like, there's a lot of problems with Jane, but she's becoming more comfortable in who she is. And this one time, as Jane is like looking around, she sees, guess who? Michael. And she's like, oh my God, am I going crazy right now? Am I going crazy? Why am I seeing my imaginary friend right in front of me right now? And they like talk for hours, they talk about everything. And essentially, Jane is madly in love with Michael, and Michael is madly in love with Jane. And, like, you can tell that they're both madly in love with each other, and it's so cute. But I got a bit uncomfortable a little bit, and maybe it's because I might be a bit too woke for this. And I'm one person that is not woke. Like, I am woke. I'm not a person. I mean, I'm not an ignorant person. I am very, very in tune with what is happening in the world and everything. But I understand on Jane's part why she fell in love with Michael immediately and why she found it so hard to forget him, that she made a whole like Broadway show about him. And the guy who plays Michael, she falls in love with that guy and dates him, even though he's not a good boyfriend or anything like that. I understand Jane. Like, she was a kid who fell in love with this imaginary friend of hers. But for Michael, on Michael's part, I am like, you've known her as a kid. This is a bit weird. I just felt, and again, guys, you guys can tell me if I'm being too woke and I'm ruining this for all of us. But I did feel like a little bit of grooming is happening here. Like, not that he's doing it. Like, I feel like she was a kid with a lot of insecurities, with abandonment issues, and he was this 30-year-old imaginary friend, but he was this 30-year-old who left such an impression on her, and she loved him even when she was a kid, as most kids do, because she felt the safest with him. She felt the most confident and comfortable with him. And as an adult, she's an adult now, so everything, I feel like now that she's in her 30s and he's still in his 30s because he didn't age. So it's okay. It's 100% okay, but I just felt a little bit icky. I just felt a little bit icky. But there were some very romantic scenes between them. But Michael's trying to understand, like, he's still here. He's still in New York. He's getting to, rekindle whatever he has with Jane. And he's wondering, like, why am I not being reassigned? What really is my assignment? And he realizes that Jane is his assignment. And he has like this whole meltdown. And he goes to church. And there's this scene of Michael in church saying, listen, I don't know what I am, but I know that I'm sent by you. I don't know if I'm an angel or whatever, but I know you sent me here. You sent me here. I know you've never spoke directly. And he's talking to God. Well, God. He's talking to God. Let me not use quotes. He is talking to God. And so he's saying, what is it that you want from me? Why am I here? Why am I here? And in that moment, he gets the revelation that he's here for Jane. He's here to hold Jane down because because there's death coming. And he is immediately shattered because he thinks his beautiful Jane is going to die. And basically, he's here to be there for her as she, exits the world. And he's like there watching her, and he noticed Jane doesn't really have an appetite. She's feeling a bit tired and all of that. So he takes her he takes her away. I forget where they went, but he takes her like on a vacation. And in the vacation, they finally do it. And it's like, whoa, for them, it's lovemaking. So it's amazing. They do it over and over and over again. Jane is in love. Michael's in love. But then Michael realizes that he has to leave Jane. Like, he has to leave Jane because he can't be with her as she is going to death. So he decides, you know what, let me leave. So in the middle of the night, he leaves. And when he leaves her, he's just walking around the streets. And he suddenly gets the revelation that he knows where he needs to go, and suddenly his legs start moving him exactly where he needs to go. At the same time, Jane is like, she wakes up, Michael is gone, there's no message or anything. Oh, but she speaks to the host of the place where they were staying, and the host is like, oh yeah, he said he has to go and someone needs him. So she goes back home and she's crying and she's like devastated, and she like calls her mom, say, Mom, Michael left. And when she calls, she gets her mom's assistant or someone like that who tells her, your mom is in the hospital. And so she quickly runs over to the hospital, and it changes over to Michael's POV. And so Michael, he knows where he has to go, and he rushes there. And he finds himself in the hospital, and his heart is beating heavy, and he goes into a hospital room, and it's not Jane. It's Vivian, Jane's mom. Jane's mom is dying, and his assignment is to be here for Jane, because in as much as Jane and her mom fight a lot, her mom is everything to her. She's all that Jane has. And so Jane also comes to the hospital and finds Michael sitting there with her mom. And yeah, there's like a heartfelt scene. I cried a little bit there because, she's losing her mom. Of course I'm going to cry. I'm a mommy's girl. Of course I'm going to cry. And then after that, the mom dies. They do the funeral, and Michael thinks that he's gonna have to leave, but he doesn't. In fact, he feels like his chest is killing him, and he faints. And when he faints, paramedics come in and they say, oh, he's okay, he's just exhausted, which is the first time for Michael, because he's a mystical being. He never gets tired. He never feels never. So now all of a sudden his heart went out because of exhaustion. That's when he realizes he's finally human. Michael is human now, and he can stay with Jane. And then we move over, and it's a Sunday, and they are at Tiffany's, and it's a little girl with an adult. I think you think it's an imaginary friend, and they're playing a game, and you realize it's Michael with his daughter, and Jane is right there with their son, and it's a happy ending. Now, let's get to the review. Other than the very gray area of how do you feel about the fact that Michael is 30 when the book starts and Jane is 9, and then obviously Michael doesn't age, but then Jane is 30 and suddenly they are in love, I do feel like there was a little bit of grooming. It's so difficult to tell because he's a mystical being. He's not real. Well, he's not real, but so it might be okay, but it's I don't know. And then the book is very fast paced. It felt rushed. It felt as if we were just running to get to the end. It felt like there was no real, I love when books take their time, introduce you to the characters, you get to know the characters. Which I think they did, but it just felt very rushed. And the climax did not feel like a real climax. It just felt like, like that's how it felt. So would I recommend it? I think it's an easy, good, romantic read for you. I think it's very cutesy. I mean, if my Michael, the Michael of my those that know, shout out to my friend Shelton, because Shelton knows everything, because I started writing about Michael when I was probably 12, and I finished writing about Michael back in high school. I'm still writing about Michael now. So if my Michael, the Michael of my imagination, suddenly showed up, my husband will have to take like back seats. Relax, my brother. Michael has arrived. But the age thing is just a little bit iffy for me. So I think you can definitely pick this one up. It's very easy. It's written like it's written for teenagers. I think it's such an easy read. It's so cute. I would recommend it. Out of 10, I think it's a, if we remove the icky part that I found icky, if you remove that, I think it's a solid 7.5. If you put that back, the icky stuff that made me a bit uncomfortable, 6. But other than that, that's been it for me, guys. I have to go do my hair. I have to finish reading the 2 books that I picked up. One of them I got from my girl Bambi, so shout out to Bambi. Love you guys. I will see you guys soon. I promise not to disappear. Okay, let me not lie to you guys. I might disappear again, but I will do my very best to give you guys more content. I am actually reading the books. I am actually making notes. I am actually doing my investigation, my research on the books. I'm actually doing all of that. I'm just not getting the time to sit down and record. And so I will do more of that when I get time. Love you so much. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram. You can also follow me on TikTok, but I'm boring that side. I'm boring that side. But follow me on Instagram. Love you all.